Wake up, Rip City. This crazy off season continues with more bad news. SHAEDON SHARPE out 6 months with a meniscus tear. This happens in, I'm assuming, an off season workout. And yeah, SHAEDON's gonna miss. I was doing the math, Gliss. It's not good. SHAEDON's gonna miss a lot of time for this regular season. This is Wake Up Rip City. We're talking about that injury today. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Moore, joined alongside me, Jay Gliss. Gliss, we're trying to figure out what to talk about today in the late part of the off season, and the news headlines write the story for us today. This sucks, man. This is stupid. This sucks.
Yeah, it's like you feel like as a Blazer fan sometimes you can just like never get a break, because all the possibilities in front of us for an exciting roster and a new head coach and all those things, and it's just there's always got to be something. And 6 months, like you said, that's a long time. That is a big chunk of the season. And, we'll get into it a little more, kind of what the consequences of that are. I definitely have some thoughts on that, but just initially, yeah, it's just you feel bad for SHAEDON and you feel disappointed as a fan.
The famous off-season video, you see a lot of them, and I often really hadn't seen that many from SHAEDON, but I had seen some this off-season of him really working out. It seemed like he was in the lab. You don't necessarily need to put that much into those videos and what they mean, but it feels like every year for SHAEDON so far has been this is the year, this is the breakout year, and it hasn't ever quite happened. But I just root for the guy. I think you and I both. He's just so much fun to watch. He's so explosive. He has all the tools to become a potential star in this league. And he has just been unluckily hampered by a lot of injuries throughout his career. And then a meniscus just sucks. It just sucks. Knee injuries are really tough, especially a guy like him with his athleticism. So it's just painful to see that, to read that. And it seems like the famous backcourt that I've always wanted, I think a lot of Blazer fans wanted, of Scoot and SHAEDON. It's just like I don't know how many games they've played together, Gliss, but it's not as high as it should be, as high as Blazer fans want it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. The obviously between an ACL and a meniscus, I'd rather have it be the meniscus. I've actually had both. I've had surgery on both knees, and I was
Dr.
a little
Gliss.
curious about the time. Yeah, I was a little curious about the timeline, because 6 months seems like a long time for a meniscus tear. So yeah, I'd be curious to know. I know that injury can vary. Like obviously, if you're a Blazer fan, one of the most famous instances is probably when Brandon Roy kind of came back and had his last heroic game. His meniscus on both knees, I think, were pretty much non-existent at that point in his career. And I think he just kind of had like a little bit of cleanup done. Because from my understanding, they're kind of like the shock absorbers of your knees, and it's very uncomfortable. I can tell you from having a meniscus tear, it's super uncomfortable and really hard to do anything like even just bend your knee when you have that issue. But it seems to me like it had to be a pretty significant tear for it to be 6 months of recovery time. And I don't know if they're just trying to be kind of conservative and just like let's get this right, make sure that he comes back healthy and all that, or if that's how severe the injury actually was. So I did think that part of it was kind of interesting. But to your point about Scoot and SHAEDON, yeah, it just feels like it's like endless, the waiting to see these guys on the court together, healthy. It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, and Gliss, correct me if I'm wrong, and Blazers fans, please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe when the Blazers played the Suns, was it the Suns? I know the Mavericks comeback was separate, but there was a series where the Blazers played the Suns in the first round, and B. Roy had hurt his meniscus like 10 days before the series started or something like that. And
Yeah.
then he had surgery, and then he went and he actually played in that series, which now looking back on it, oh my God, how stupid is that? But I remember something similar like that. So, I mean, obviously injury time for knee injuries has changed a lot. I mean, an ACL tear used to be what was like a career-ending injury,
Yeah.
or players would never be the same. Now players are coming back from ACLs all the time. I mean, you look at the NFL, Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL at the end of the season last year, and now like I haven't seen
He's
much, but
saying he's going to play.
think he might be starting week 1,
Right.
like all this stuff. So I haven't been paying that close of attention to the NFL, but so it's like things have changed a lot with the knee injury front. So yeah, I was also surprised by the timeline. God, we're playing doctor on the show already. But obviously it's a serious if they're coming out with that kind of timeline right away, obviously it's very serious, which makes it even suck even more. So yeah, let's get into how this is going to affect the season.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple things right up front, and I'm interested to hear your take, but there was obviously a logjam at guard. Now the depth at guard makes all the sense in the world, which we figured it would. We had mentioned on this show, and I've heard a ton of people talk about this, all the guards that the Blazers have had injuries, and so it makes sense that they had a lot of depth in that perspective. What are your thoughts on how this affects kind of the rotation and this season moving forward?
Yeah, I think the weird part about it is, I mean, he's essentially the only shooting guard on the team.
The only tall one.
Yeah, like exactly. Like he's the only guard that's not like really a point guard. And obviously, like we know, Dame can play off the ball a little bit. He's probably not his best when he's playing off the ball. And we've talked about this endlessly throughout the offseason, just a lot of ball dominant point guards. But I think that's a little bit of weirdness there, is just the fact that if they stand with the roster that they have, they don't really have a clear shooting guard on this team. And the thing that instantly came to my mind when we got the news of this yesterday is just it puts him in a really, really unfortunate position, because as we know, he missed a bunch of time towards the end of the season. And when he came back, he really wasn't able to even get himself back into the rotation when we got to the postseason. And I think there's various reasons for that. I think probably his
defense,
lack of commitment on defense, because he actually improved in some ways on defense last year, but it was more opportunistic. It was because the Blazers defense as a whole allowed him opportunities to increase his steal numbers and stuff like that. So yeah, I think his lack of commitment on defense and all those things hurt him when he came back so late in the season. And now pushing him out 6 months when you have all these guards on the roster, I just think it makes it really, really hard to figure out how he can have a role on this team when at that point in the season, it's going to be a very established group already. And not only that, I mean, at that point, have they already, made adjustments to the roster to kind of make up for the lack of a shooting guard? So I think those are the two questions for me immediately. Is just it puts him in a really bad position to carve out a role on this current roster.
Let's do some quick back of the napkin math, Gliss. It's already September, which is insane, but it's already September. I mean, so he's going to miss September, October, November, December, January, February. That's 6 months.
Yeah.
So we're talking all-star break.
Trade deadline?
Probably.
I mean,
yeah. That's when he's going to be coming back.
Right.
That's a long time. Like, that's the whole season. I mean, that's what? He'll come back with 30 games left. And, injuries are so, fans and I expect this. You expect a player when he's coming back from injury, the first game he's back to the same person. No, it takes time. Like he's not going to be back to his full self till, if he even is at all this season, till potentially playoffs. So yeah, and Gliss, I think there's like a black hole of players on this team that are between like what heights? I'm trying to think of like between like 6'5" and 6'10". Like there's like how many players are that tall? Like Deni. Now I'm thinking off the top of my head, but it's just like there's not that many players that are. I guess CD Sissoko. Who am I missing? Am I missing someone? Tumani, obviously.
Tumani, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but man, it's hard to think of them. Like I like it's hard to think of it off the top of my head because there's just not that many of them. So it'll be and Gliss, that's a needed position in today's NBA. Needed. I mean, especially so we'll see what happens with the roster. I mean, obviously you have a guy like, I'd be interesting. Obviously Vit Krejci's stuff like was really bad last season, just to be honest. So it'd be interesting if maybe he comes in like a 10th man spot and can fill some of those minutes well, because he's what, 6'7", and can shoot the ball. So if he could come in and play rotation minutes, that'd be nice, or at least come in some games and play some spot minutes. So it would be good. But yeah, there's clearly like a glaring hole on this team in that position. So it'd be interesting to see if they. I don't know if there's a move to be made. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I think they go in with the roster as is, and then you kind of see where you go from there.
Yeah, I don't know that there's. Yeah, I agree. There's probably not a move to be made right now, but again, I think it's just not a good position for SHAEDON. Just the fact that we are talking about February. By that time, the chemistry of this team is already kind of established, or at least we hope, if things go well. And if there is like glaring holes, then that's the time of year where you're going to go be aggressive and try to address those going down the stretch run. So it puts him in a bad spot to, like I said, I just don't see, and to your point as well, just the conditioning alone to get back in NBA game shape is going to be, difficult for any player. Yes, they're, world-class athletes and all that stuff, but, like you said, you don't just recover from an injury and then walk back onto the court and play 35 minutes a night, especially when he will not have been a part of what's already kind of in motion in terms of the rotation and all that stuff. So it's going to be tough for him. And it's, like I said, as a fan, it's just disappointing because as frustrating as SHAEDON Sharpe has been at times, when he shines, it's really fun to watch. And like you said, we've kind of hoped every year, like, is this his year? And he's shown flashes, but it just hasn't happened, and he hasn't been able to stay on the court consistently enough for us to kind of see him at his full potential on a consistent basis.
Now, if we're going to look at this from the glass half full perspective, this does bring a lot of other opportunities for players. And when we had Sean Highkin on the show, he said that SHAEDON was the odd man out on this roster.
Yep.
And, he did mention that, obviously that was earlier in the offseason, and we're still here in the offseason, so we don't really know. But you'd think this is more time for Scoot. Mm-hmm. This is more time for even for that whole guard rotation to get minutes. You're looking at Drew, you're looking at Dame, you're looking at Ja. I mean, especially Ja. So this does offer opportunities for other players, and then you can even, like I said, look deeper into the roster, whether Vit Krejci is going to get some time, and kind of see where Mike Nori takes things with this roster. So I do think there is opportunity there, and I will say it's not as big of a concern of like, okay, who's going to fill those minutes, right? I don't think that's a big concern. I do think, Gliss, you're right when you're saying, like he was kind of the only shooting guard on the team, right? So it's like that is the concern, but I think those minutes will be filled. And we saw Scoot really develop at the end of last year into someone who has been better off the ball, which was not what we originally thought he was going to be, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays, especially with how his shooting was developing towards the end of the season. So there's definitely exciting minutes for other players.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Scoot is definitely the guy that comes to mind first. Just when you kind of think of opportunities for other people, he's the one. I mean, I think in general, both of us have been on the same page that, he is the guy that we're kind of watching the most closely. I mean, he's not been around as long as SHAEDON, and he really started to show flashes towards the end of the season, and in particular in the postseason, that game in San Antonio. He showed how dynamic of a player he could be. And yeah, if he can develop his shooting, which I would assume he's put in a lot of time during the off season to try to improve that and be a consistent outside shooter, then yeah, I mean, that's someone that for sure could hopefully fill some of those needs. Have we seen it yet on a consistent basis? No. But they have the roster that they have. Like, this is where we've talked about it before. I mean, they have a lot of point guards, and Mike Norrie is going to have to be creative in how they kind of develop these rotations and figure out who complements who, are they going to go with smaller lineups? I mean, these are all questions that are yet to be answered, but opportunity, I think, is definitely the key word. And, that's always been kind of the main thing in sports, like, next man up mentality. And we'll see what happens, but Scoot is definitely the guy that I have my eye on the most with this news.
Sucky news coming out yesterday. SHAEDON Sharpe to miss 6 months with a torn meniscus, and man, it's just the article you don't want to read. It's the headline you see, and you try to imagine that it's not real, and of course it is. So we won't be seeing SHAEDON Sharpe play basketball for quite some time here. Like I said, if the timeline that they said is true, then we're looking at February. But as we saw last year, the timelines on these injuries are often not exactly the truth. So we'll kind of watch that and see how long it is till SHAEDON Sharpe plays basketball again. Gliss, anything else to add before we log off here?
No, you pretty much summed it up. It sucks. You never want to see guys go down, especially during the off season when we haven't even get to see them play. Get to see him have his opportunity with this roster and all that stuff. So it sucks, but gotta take it and just move on.
All right, Gliss, before we log off on Wake Up RipCity, I have a fantasy football question for you. You playing fantasy this season? Do you play fantasy?
I had my draft last night. I do Dynasty,
you
but
did draft last night. Okay. Yeah. I do a redraft league.
Yeah.
I've got the 4th pick, Gliss, and I'm just looking at it, and I think 2 players that you probably hate are going to be available to me at 4.
Yes, I
Puka
hate
Nacua.
If you have to say that right off, then yes.
I know you hate them. And JSN. I mean, I'm thinking that's who's going to be my spot. Who would you take? Because I'm struggling. I don't know who to take.
That's tough. For redraft, I don't know. Like maybe Puka. I love
JSN. Like, I'm a Seahawks
I do too. So I mean, I hate the Seahawks, but JSN. Like, because for my league, I'd rather have JSN, because like Dynasty, I'd rather have. I think he's a better long-term play. But
Puka's insane.
I don't know. Puka, he's probably going to get a lot of targets you have Matthew Stafford at quarterback. I don't know. I might have to go Puka. But
the thing is, sometimes I'm like at the point of my life. I'm at the point of my life now, Gliss. I'm old and I'm maturing. If I'm playing fantasy and I'm going to be watching this player every week, I'm like, I want to enjoy it.
Yes. No,
And I think
totally
I'd
get that.
enjoy watching JSN, whereas like I'm like watching Puka, like it's gonna be awesome when he's going off, but then he like gets concussed in week 3 or whatever because he's just a madman on the field, or then he gets suspended because he says something stupid. But then he's gonna have like 35 in a game because he just goes off. So it's like I don't know, Gliss. That's my struggle. I hope my league members aren't watching this, but
I mean,
that's my struggle.
As a 49er fan, honestly, if I were in your shoes, I'd probably take JSN. I think it's more, I agree with you. It's more fun to have at least 1 or 2 guys on your team where you can really sit down and root for them when you're watching football.
Gliss, what do you think about the substation?
I hate it.
there's a I don't know how to describe it. There's a substation by the 49ers practice field. Yeah. And you can like see it in photos. It's like dark and looming and ominous. And the 49ers have been like the most injured team, so there's that huge conspiracy theory about the substation causing all these ligament soft tissue injuries to the 49ers. Gliss, to me, it's absolutely hilarious. It's funny.
It's a little conspiracy. Yeah, it's I don't know. Like I go back and forth. Because it's like, on one hand, it's like, no, I don't think that.
No, I'm not. But
then,
we're not crazy,
but then
right?
George Kittle goes and tears his. It's like it's hard. Yeah. It's hard not to to play into it a little bit as well, as like as Blazer fans, like. We tend to try to make excuses for why things happen. So I think it's a convenient excuse. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything's working against us. I think that's what that's all about. It was funny though when they got Mike Evans, the first reaction from like the majority of 49ers fans was like, keep him the hell away from that substation.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like the funniest conspiracy theory ever. It's like, because it's like gotten to a point where it's if you're a player on that team, like it's probably at least concerning.
In
like
your
they're
head.
definitely
right.
Yeah, for sure. Now, is it actually causing injuries? Probably not.
No,
but man, it's crazy. Yeah, and I've been watching Hard Knocks, and the Seahawks are on Hard Knocks, and the Seahawks have this absolutely beautiful practice facility that's right on the water and gorgeous. Yeah. So that makes it even funnier for me. I'm sorry, Gliss. All right. Wake up, RipCity. We'll be back next week with another episode. If you've made it this far, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Tell a friend about our show. Just pass it on. There's a bunch of Blazers fans out there who haven't heard of us yet, and we want them to know. So please let them know about Wake Up RipCity. We've got some great stuff planned for you this season. We've just got a little bit of time in the off season left, and then we've got a fun season planned for you. So we're just counting down those days to see Damian Lillard play basketball again in a Blazers uniform. Opening night against the Suns, man, I can't wait. All right, we'll see you next week.